Okay, so this is my Harbor Freight bubble balancer. I've heard everything about Harbor Freight balancers, not as great as the other balance. Look, they're all the same. They all come from probably the same place in China. So whether you buy this from Amazon or you buy it from Harbor Freight, you're pretty much getting the same thing. There's not really a whole lot of difference unless, you know, it's made in the USA. So I did one modification on this, and I'm going to try to zoom in later, but as you can see, I drilled out the center portion here. I took a bigger drill bit and I drilled it out. And the reason that I did that was because this thing didn't really settle. It settled in on it didn't rock back and forth that much like it should have. It immediately stopped as soon as you started swinging it, which I didn't like, because the tip on the bubble, the tip on the base here, this tip right here is wide enough that when you put this on, it would just swing back and forth a couple times, and because it would meet resistance on the tip, it would stop. So I drilled that out so that I can get more movement. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here once I install this. So these things can be sometimes a little tricky to get them centered on there, to get them into that. Okay, so now it's in there. So what I'm telling you, what happened when I had before I did that modification is when you would do this, it would be like it already would have stopped. See, so this, you get a lot more movement, right? It'll keep going for a little bit longer. It's gonna stop here real quick. I've already centered this, so you can see, looking at the bubble in the center, that it's centered. And you do that by tightening or loosening these screws all around here until you get your bubble in the center. Now for me, centered is anywhere in that black or dark colored circle there once you put the tire on. Now, a lot of tires, I've noticed in changing tires, a lot of them are centered, are balanced when you put them on there, especially if you put the weights back in the same place. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the rule. I'm just saying that I've noticed that. And a lot of times the tires, even with no weights, when I pull the weights off, they're balanced already as well. And I test this by taking it out on the road and doing, you know, the speed limit to make sure that I'm not getting any vibrations or anything at highway speeds, and I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to balance a tire here, and I'm going to show you on the bubble balancer where it is and how to go ahead and balance. Before we get started, I wanted to show you the different types of weights. These are press-on weights. Basically, they have a adhesive on the back, and you can stick them inside of the rim. You don't put them on the outside like the rest of these. You put them behind in the deep part of the wheel, and you stick them up in there. Make sure that they're clean. I've used them. They work fine. You can put an adhesive, like an industrial adhesive under there for the old ones that come off. So then you have your different type of weights. These are for your steel weights, your steel wheels. You can tell they're a little bit thinner, and you just sort of tap them on. And these are for your aluminum wheels. And it's the same thing, but aluminum wheels are thicker than the steel wheels, so you know, they have a different setting for that. You can use, you can't really interchange these two, but you can interchange with these if you find that you're getting, you know, your weights are getting too much. You don't really want to stack a lot of weight, say on the outside. So let's say you have to get a couple of these. You can tap one on the outer part of the rim and then the other one on the inside of the rim. You can arrange them however you want. But if you're getting into weights like this, you don't want to have 2 or 3 of these stacked all the way around the outside. Actually, you probably don't want 2 or 3 of these anyway. If you're getting that many, then you might want to pop your tire off the rim and rotate it around on the rim to find a heavier spot on that rim to counterweight the tire. There's a lot of little tricks that you can do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a tire on the balancer, and we're going to see how that tire, just how it sits. So when you put your tire on the balancer, you want to gently put it on there. You want to put it on here and allow the springs to go ahead and, you know, compress and let this thing sit. Now, if you can see, this thing is off in this direction here. So right here, we're going to have to put a weight to bring it back. So we're going to have to see. I like to kick it around a little bit and let it move. I just set it down and that's how it went. So I'm just going to let it bounce back and forth and let it settle in on its own. And then once it does that, you'll have an idea. Okay. So as you can see now, the tire's balanced, but look at all those weights there. This is definitely a candidate for breaking off the rim and rotating the tire around in order to see if I can get a better balance. That's, you know, almost 6 ounces of weight on that one part of the tire. That's a bit much, but what you want to do at this point, like I said, is rotate it around and get the weights where you need them to be and, you know, redo it. So for this tire, what I'm going to do, because this is a trailer tire and I'm using it just for demonstration purposes. Trailer tires don't really need to be balanced, so I'm not really going to balance it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off and I'm going to show you how you get these weights on and off. So once you know where your weights are supposed to be, like I marked the tire. So what you would do is you would take your weight and you'd set it there. This is a steel wheel. You have your hammer tool here. You would just hammer that weight on there. And once that weight is on there, you're good to go. Or you can take these and you would insert them. Oops. You would insert them on the inside of the rim in here or up under the well there. That's where they would go. And so now what you do is if you wanted to take this off, these have, it's going to be hard to do with one hand. Let's put this in there. So this tool, these weights have a little hole right up there. You would get this tool into that hole and just lift it out. And that's all there is to balancing your tires with the bubble balancer. Pretty straightforward, works really well. I've seen no need to take it down to get them balanced on the electronic balancer. And don't get me wrong, the electronic balancer is going to be way more precise than a bubble balancer. But for my applications, the bubble balancer is all you really need. Your mileage may vary, to each his own. Some places you can get them cheap. I think we have a place right around town here that'll do them. They'll change your tire out and balance them for 10 bucks a tire, 8 to 10 bucks. I think you can't go wrong with that. So unless you just want a project, something like that would be worth doing. But anyway, that's all there is to balancing on the bubble balancer.